Right now, as you're watching this, there's a man somewhere convincing himself that if he just buys her one more drink, holds one more door, sends one more thoughtful text, she'll finally see what a great guy he is. And right now, there's another man who just walked into that same room, made eye contact with her for 3 seconds, and now she's completely captivated. The difference between these two men isn't looks, money, or luck. It's understanding a fundamental truth about human psychology that most men refuse to accept. You've been lied to your entire life about what creates attraction. Your mother told you to be nice to girls. Disney movies showed you that persistence wins the princess. Society programmed you to believe that kindness equals attraction. But here's what no one told you. Attraction isn't a choice, it's a biological response. And that response has nothing to do with how nice you are. Dr. Robert Cialdini, in his groundbreaking work on influence and persuasion, identified 6 fundamental principles that drive human behavior. But when it comes to attraction, there's a 7th principle that governs everything, the principle of emotional investment. Women don't fall for men who make their lives easier. They fall for men who make their lives more emotionally intense. Think about it. When was the last time you heard a woman describe her ideal man as really, really nice? You haven't. Because niceness, while admirable, doesn't trigger the neurochemical cocktail that creates romantic and sexual attraction. What does trigger it is uncertainty, challenge, and emotional stimulation. Let me share something that might make you uncomfortable. Evolutionary psychologist Dr. David Buss spent decades studying human mating strategies across cultures, and his research consistently shows that women are attracted to men who display what he calls high mate value signals. These aren't moral qualities, they're survival and reproduction indicators hardwired into our biology over millions of years of evolution. Nice behavior, paradoxically, often signals the opposite of high mate value. When you're constantly accommodating, always available, and never challenging, you're unconsciously communicating that you have abundant time and few options. In the language of attraction, this translates to low social value. It's not fair, it's not politically correct, but it's evolutionarily accurate. Dr. Helen Fisher, anthropologist and leading researcher on love and attraction, has identified 3 brain systems that drive romantic behavior: lust, romantic love, and attachment. The nice guy approach completely bypasses the first 2 systems and jumps straight to attachment. But without lust and romantic love, attachment becomes friendship, and friendship, no matter how deep, rarely transforms into passionate romantic connection. Here's where most men get it catastrophically wrong. They think attraction is about proving their worth through good deeds. But attraction isn't about proving anything. It's about creating an emotional experience. Robert Greene, author of The Art of Seduction, understood this perfectly. He wrote that seduction is about taking people out of their mundane reality and creating an alternate world where emotions run high and normal rules don't apply. The nice guy does the exact opposite. He makes everything safe, predictable, and comfortable. He removes emotional intensity rather than creating it. He becomes the human equivalent of a warm blanket, pleasant but not exciting. Now, before you close this video thinking I'm advocating for being an asshole, let me be crystal clear. There's a massive difference between not being nice and being actively harmful. What I'm talking about is the difference between being a pushover and being a man with boundaries, standards, and self-respect. Mystery, one of the most controversial but effective pickup artists of the early 2000s, built his entire method around what he called emotional spikes. His approach was often criticized, and rightfully so in many ways, but his core insight was psychologically sound. Attraction requires emotional variance. Constant pleasantness creates emotional flatline, and emotional flatline kills attraction. Dr. Arthur Aron's famous bridge experiment demonstrated this principle scientifically. Men who met women on a high, unstable bridge were more likely to call them later than men who met the same women on a low, stable bridge. The anxiety and excitement from the bridge created emotional arousal that the men's brains interpreted as attraction to the woman. This is called misattribution of arousal, and it's one of the most powerful forces in human attraction. Nice guys create stable bridges. They make women feel safe, comfortable, and emotionally regulated. But regulated emotions don't create the intensity necessary for romantic and sexual attraction. You need emotional peaks and valleys, tension and release, uncertainty followed by validation. This is why women often say they want nice guys, but consistently choose men who create emotional turbulence. It's not that they're lying or confused, they genuinely believe they want stability and kindness, but their biological programming responds to something entirely different. Consider the work of Dr. Donald Dutton and Dr. Arthur Aron on the psychology of passionate love. Their research showed that people are most likely to fall in love when they're experiencing high arousal, regardless of whether that arousal is positive or negative. The key ingredient isn't happiness, it's intensity. Nice guys optimize for happiness. They try to make women feel good all the time. But constant happiness is actually the enemy of attraction because it eliminates the emotional contrast that creates memorable experiences. When every interaction is pleasant and predictable, none of them stand out. You become background noise in her emotional landscape. The men who understand attraction create what Gavin de Becker calls emotional loans in his book, The Gift of Fear. They create small amounts of tension, uncertainty, or challenge, then resolve it with validation or affection. This creates an emotional cycle that becomes psychologically addictive. Here's a perfect example. The nice guy texts a woman, "Good morning, beautiful. Hope you have an amazing day." It's sweet, but it requires no emotional investment from her. She can respond with a simple thanks and move on. Compare that to, "I bet you're not a morning person." Now she has to defend herself, explain her morning routine, or playfully argue. She's emotionally invested in the conversation. Dr. Elaine Hatfield's research on passionate versus companionate love reveals another crucial distinction. Passionate love is characterized by intense emotions, sexual attraction, anxiety, and uncertainty. Companionate love is characterized by intimacy, trust, commitment, and care. Nice guys jump straight to companionate love behaviors without creating passionate love first. This is why so many nice guys end up in the friend zone. They're offering companionate love to women who haven't experienced passionate love with them. It's like trying to build the second floor of a house without constructing the foundation first. The most successful men with women understand what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. This is the same principle that makes gambling addictive. Instead of consistently rewarding behavior, you reward it unpredictably. This creates much stronger psychological attachment than constant reward. Nice guys provide constant reinforcement. They're always available, always supportive, always positive. This actually reduces their psychological value because the woman knows exactly what to expect. There's no mystery, no challenge, no emotional investment required on her part. Dr. Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love identifies three components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Nice guys focus exclusively on intimacy and commitment while completely neglecting passion. But without passion, you have companionate love, the kind of love people feel for close friends and family members. The dark truth that most men can't accept is that women's attraction triggers haven't evolved to reward moral virtue. They've evolved to identify men who can provide genetic advantages and protection in a dangerous world. Kindness doesn't signal either of these things. Confidence, social dominance, emotional strength, and the ability to remain calm under pressure do. This doesn't mean women are shallow or immoral. It means they're human beings whose attraction mechanisms developed over millions of years of evolution, not decades of social conditioning. You can fight evolution, but you can't win. Neil Strauss, in The Game, documented his transformation from a self-described nice guy to someone who understood attraction. His key insight wasn't that you need to be mean or manipulative. It was that you need to be willing to risk rejection, create emotional investment, and maintain your own standards and boundaries. Nice guys are terrified of rejection, so they never create the tension necessary for attraction. They're so focused on being liked that they forget to be interesting. They're so concerned with not offending that they never stimulate. They optimize for safety instead of excitement. Dr. John Gottman's research on relationships shows that successful couples maintain a ratio of 5 positive interactions to every negative one. But notice that even successful relationships include negative interactions. Conflict, when handled properly, actually strengthens bonds by creating resolution and emotional intensity. Nice guys try to maintain a ratio of 10 positive interactions to 0 negative ones. This creates emotional stagnation. Without any challenge or conflict, there's no opportunity for resolution, growth, or the emotional intensity that bonds people together. The pickup artist community, despite its many flaws and problematic elements, understood one crucial thing. Attraction is about emotional impact, not moral virtue. Their methods were often crude and manipulative, but their core insight about the importance of creating emotional investment was psychologically accurate. Dr. Antonio Damasio's research on emotion and decision-making reveals that humans make decisions emotionally first, then rationalize them logically afterward. This means that if you're trying to attract someone through logical arguments about why you'd be a good partner, you're fighting a losing battle. You need to create an emotional experience first. Nice guys approach attraction like a job interview. They present their qualifications, demonstrate their reliability, and explain why they'd be a good choice. But attraction isn't a hiring decision. It's an emotional response that happens before conscious thought. The men who excel with women understand what Dr. Paul Ekman calls emotional contagion. Emotions are literally contagious. When you feel something intensely, others around you begin to feel it too. Nice guys typically operate in a narrow emotional range from pleasant to very pleasant. This creates no emotional contagion and therefore no attraction. Consider the difference between these two approaches to asking a woman out. The nice guy says, "I was wondering if maybe you'd like to go to dinner sometime if you're not too busy, and if you want to, no pressure." The confident man says, "I'm taking you to dinner Friday. Wear something that makes you feel dangerous." The first approach requires no emotional investment from her. She can easily say no without feeling like she's missing anything. The second approach creates immediate emotional investment. She has to picture herself on this date, imagine what she'd wear, consider what dangerous means to him. Even if she says no, she's emotionally invested in the interaction. Dr. Daché Keltner's research on power dynamics shows that people are naturally attracted to those who display confidence and social dominance. This doesn't mean being aggressive or controlling. It means being comfortable with your own power and not apologizing for taking up space in the world. Nice guys constantly apologize for their existence. They say sorry for expressing opinions, for taking up time, for having needs or desires. This communicates low social value and kills attraction. High-value men express themselves without apology while still being respectful of others. The psychological principle of scarcity, identified by Dr. Robert Cialdini, applies powerfully to attraction. Things that are rare or hard to obtain are perceived as more valuable. Nice guys make themselves abundantly available, which reduces their perceived value. Men who understand attraction maintain some level of scarcity. They have their own lives, goals and priorities that don't revolve around any one woman. This brings us to one of the most important concepts in attraction psychology: outcome independence. This term, popularized in the seduction community, refers to the ability to engage with women without being attached to any specific outcome. You're outcome independent when you can approach, flirt, and connect with women while being genuinely okay with whatever happens. Nice guys are outcome dependent. They approach every interaction with a specific goal, usually to be liked or to avoid rejection. This creates a needy energy that women can sense immediately. It makes every interaction feel like there's an agenda, which creates pressure and kills attraction. Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's research on flow states reveals another crucial element. People are most attracted to activities and individuals that challenge them at just the right level. Not so easy that they're bored, not so difficult that they're overwhelmed. Nice guys typically make interactions too easy, which creates boredom rather than engagement. The most attractive men calibrate their level of challenge perfectly. They're engaging enough to hold attention, challenging enough to create investment, but not so difficult that women feel overwhelmed or rejected. This is a skill that requires emotional intelligence and social awareness. Dr. Helen Fisher's brain imaging studies show that when people are in the early stages of romantic love, their brains show activity patterns similar to cocaine addiction. The neurochemical cocktail includes dopamine, norepinephrine, and phenylethylamine, all chemicals associated with excitement, energy, and euphoria. Nice guy behavior doesn't trigger any of these chemicals. Instead, nice guy behavior triggers oxytocin and vasopressin, chemicals associated with bonding and attachment. These are important for long-term relationships, but they don't create the initial spark of attraction. You need the cocaine-like chemicals first, then the bonding chemicals later. This is why timing is so crucial in attraction. The nice guy reveals his romantic interest immediately and maintains it consistently, but this eliminates the uncertainty that triggers dopamine release. The brain's reward system is designed to respond most strongly to unpredictable rewards. Dr. Wolfram Schultz's research on dopamine and reward prediction shows that dopamine levels spike highest when rewards are uncertain. When rewards are predictable, dopamine levels actually decrease over time. This is why nice guys become less attractive over time, rather than more attractive. Their predictable niceness stops triggering dopamine release. The solution isn't to become unpredictably cruel or manipulative. It's to become unpredictably excellent. Sometimes you're charming, sometimes you're challenging, sometimes you're available, sometimes you're busy with your own important goals. Sometimes you validate her, sometimes you playfully disagree. This creates the emotional variance that keeps dopamine levels elevated. Dr. Barry Schwartz's research on the paradox of choice reveals another crucial insight. When people have too many options, they often become paralyzed and fail to choose anything. But when they have limited options, they're more likely to make a decision. Nice guys present themselves as just one option among many. They're agreeable, accommodating, and interchangeable. Men who understand attraction present themselves as unique, limited-time opportunities, not through artificial scarcity or manipulation, but through genuine self-development and high standards. They become men that women feel lucky to be chosen by, rather than men who feel lucky to be chosen. This brings us to perhaps the most important principle of all. High-value males, in evolutionary terms, don't compete for female attention. They attract it. Nice guys are constantly competing. They try to outdo other men through extra effort, more attention, greater accommodation. But this competition actually signals low value. High-value males demonstrate their worth through their behavior, achievements, and character, then allow women to compete for their attention. This doesn't mean being arrogant or dismissive. It means being selective, having standards, and not being willing to compromise your core values or goals for any woman. The psychological principle of social proof, another of Cialdini's key insights, plays a major role in attraction. People assume that if others find someone valuable, they must be valuable. Nice guys typically focus all their attention on one woman, which provides no social proof. Men who understand attraction maintain rich social lives where they're valued by multiple people, which makes them more attractive to everyone. Dr. David Destino's research on trust and attraction shows that women are most attracted to men who demonstrate strategic niceness rather than indiscriminate niceness. Strategic niceness means being kind and generous when it's deserved, but maintaining boundaries when it's not. This signals both emotional intelligence and strength. Indiscriminate niceness, the hallmark of the nice guy, actually signals poor judgment and weak boundaries. If you're nice to everyone, regardless of how they treat you, women unconsciously wonder if you have the strength to protect them when necessary. As we near the end of this exploration, it's crucial to understand that this isn't about becoming a bad person or treating women poorly. It's about understanding the difference between being nice and being attractive and recognizing that they're not the same thing. You can be a good man with strong moral values while still understanding and working with the psychological principles that create attraction. The most successful men with women are those who combine genuine kindness with strength, generosity with boundaries, warmth with challenge. They understand that attraction is the foundation that allows all their other good qualities to matter. Without attraction, kindness becomes friendship, generosity becomes being taken advantage of, and warmth becomes being overlooked. The uncomfortable truth is that nice guys don't finish last because women are cruel or shallow. They finish last because they misunderstand the game they're playing. They're trying to win a tennis match by following golf rules. Their strategies, while admirable in other contexts, are simply ineffective for creating romantic and sexual attraction. But here's the hopeful truth. Attraction can be learned. It's a set of skills and understandings that can be developed. You don't have to change who you are fundamentally. You have to change how you express who you are. The core principles of confidence, emotional intelligence, maintaining standards, creating appropriate challenge, and understanding female psychology can be mastered by any man willing to do the work. Remember that every woman you've ever seen with a man who seems less deserving than you is with him because he understood something about attraction that you didn't. That gap in understanding can be closed. The choice is yours. Continue operating from the nice guy playbook and keep getting nice guy results, or develop a deeper understanding of human psychology and start creating the attraction you deserve. The game of attraction has rules, whether you acknowledge them or not. The men who learn these rules and play by them don't finish last. They write their own endings.